Debbie and Roy came to visit us at Southern Comfort. While they were there, I was in the process of finishing some new tables for the living room. A conversation about the tables brought to light an inequity. Mary has tables, this being one of her favorites. I have tables. I'm particularly fond of this one. Even Roy has tables. Here's one of his. Debbie, however, is underprivileged. She doesn't have any tables. We're just going to have to do something about that. Based on the wish list, I think Debbie would like to have tables that would be about the color of our oak floors. Maybe I should just make them out of our oak floors. It just so happens I have a supply of all those oak floorings in Bob's Wood. Some of it used to be stacked right up there. Of course, there's still some of it stacked right up there, but a lot of it has been moved. And here it sits. Short pieces for the skirts on the end of the table, a little bit longer ones for the skirts on the side of the table, and then, of course, there are legs. Here is one of the tops. You can make a solid tabletop if you use enough pieces, a little glue, some patience, and some wood clamps. It's still very difficult to get it level though. Of course, if you've got a planer, it does help that process of getting it level. Now I need to cut it to size. The request is for it to be 23 inches long and 12 inches wide. Now, if I measure this one, you can probably see that it's only 11 3/4. Don't tell anybody it's not 12 inches though. Maybe they won't notice. Sometimes you just have to take what the wood will give you. I'm going to square it off on one end. Got to let the slide slide. And then measure it to 23 inches on the other side. Now I want to round the corner. I'm going to do that by marking 1 inch down each direction. Taking my jar and lining it up and drawing a circle on each end. Now, I'm going to cut the bulk of that corner off using the bandsaw. I'm going to move over here to the disc sander and sand down to the line, and I should have nice, even, round corners. That brings us to the part that I love the most, sanding. Wood expands and contracts with temperature and moisture changes. For that reason, you attach the top to the frame using these little figure eights right here. You drill an inset for the figure eight into the frame using a Forstner bit. I usually do that after the frame is put together, but in an effort to keep the skirts wider, I left a little indent where I cut the groove off. There, you can see the indent right there. And I'm afraid that the tip of the Forstner bit will not make contact down inside that groove, and it will tend to wander a little bit. So instead of doing it after I put the frames together, I'm going to see if I can't set the shopsmith up over there to drill the insets before I put the frame together. Okay, now I've got the Forstner bit installed into the shopsmith. It's going to act like a drill press, only going sideways. And I hope what it does is stabilizes and cuts my little slot. We'll see. Looks to be about right. All the slots are cut. I think we're ready to start assembly. It's time to put the frames together. I do that using Kreg screws, or generically called pocket screws. I have this jig that you place the piece of wood into, clamp it down, and then with a special bit, you drill a pocket hole. You drill 2 holes per side and on both ends. Once you got your holes drilled, you are ready to attach the skirt to the leg, but you want what's called a reveal, which means that the skirt doesn't go all the way out to the edge. It has a thickness between the edge of the leg and the edge of the skirt. To accomplish that, you need a thin piece of wood, and I use my table saw to act as a backstop. I set the leg down on the table itself, and I set the skirt onto the piece of wood that I'm using for the spacer. Then of course you need a couple of screws, drill with the proper bit in it. You mash everything up against the edge of the table saw to keep it all flat and level. And you screw in the screw. 2 of them to keep it in place. Then, of course, you do the same thing on the other side. Now you need another skirt lower down on the table. That skirt serves 2 purposes. One, it holds the shelf, and 2, it holds the legs straight going down. Now, I need a tape measure. Putting the top of that skirt at about 9 inches from the bottom of the table. And there we have the ends. One end for one of the tables. It's got a nice little reveal right there. Ready to make some more. And we have frames. Tomorrow's another day. Now that we got frames, we can make our shelves. One would think that given these things have been made out of equally sized pieces and put together equally the same, that they'd be square. Well, anybody that thinks that's never put anything like this together, because they're not square. So we got to measure and see what we got. This one needs a shelf that's 21.5 inches long, and that's true on each end. And it's 10 7/8 wide. And that's true on each end. So that one's not too bad. Now this one, it needs a shelf that's 21 3/8 on that side, but it's more like 21 5/16 over here. And widthwise, it is 10.5 there. and 10.5 there. So now what we got to do is to cut our shelves to size. Okay. We need this one to be 10 7/8 wide, which means I need to take a little bit off, and I want to take a little bit off of each side so that the ends stay up just about the same size. So I've got the table saw set off to take a little over 1/4 inch off of this side. And now I'll set it up to make it 10 7/8 wide. That should be about right. Yes, sir, that looks about right. Flip it around. Ten 7/8. Now I want to make this shelf 21.5 long. But I'm going to do that a little bit differently than I do usually, because I want to make sure that the ends are exactly parallel. So what I'm going to do is just square it off over here on the miter saw and then cut it to length over on the table saw. Okay, now I need 21.5 in length. And that should be just about 21.5. No, it's just exactly 21.5. And by doing it that way, those two ends have to be exactly parallel. Now comes the part that is the hardest to make fit. I've drawn my little notches for around my legs onto my shelf. And the reason it's hard is because I'd like my shelf to come out just about to the end of the leg on both sides. And as we pointed out earlier, it isn't square. So we just have to do the best we can in getting this to fit. It's much easier to cut it out just to go inside the legs, but I don't think it looks as good. In order to cut out the notches, we're going to take it over to the bandsaw. And there you have it, a shelf in place. Now it's time to start the finish process. I picked out this stain. It's called Golden Oak. It's time to find out how good it's going to look. I'm going to put the stain on with a brush and immediately wipe it off. I think we're getting much the results I was hoping for. I think I'm pleased. I've got the shelf in place. Now I'm going to screw it down. That helps hold it all square. Going to drill a pilot hole so it don't split anything. And I've got these little black screws that look nice in the furniture. I'll get the other end and that should hold it in place. Okay, it's time to get the figure eights onto the frame. And I'll be honest with you, I'm a little worried. I may have gotten my center a little too close to the edge. I'm afraid my screws might tear out, so we're going to have to be really careful. Okay, well that one worked. Okay, those two are in. I think we're going to be fine. Now to attach the top to the base. Well, now the big question, do we set level? Seems pretty level to me. I don't guess we need any further adjustment. This one seems to be rocking a little, however. So what we have to do is to take it over to the disc sander there and sand just a little bit off the two offending legs, which is this one and this one. See, that's much better. Now what we're going to do is to put some feet on the legs. There's some stick-on kind, but I like to use these little ones with nails. The only problem is I've learned that those nails are not strong enough to just drive into the legs, so you got to pre-drill some holes for them to go into. Well, we got our feet on. We're all stained. We're all assembled. I guess all that's left to do is to finish. I'll go get some finish now. I'm going to use this wipe-on poly as a final finish. I'll probably put about 2 coats on it. Okay. Well, there they are, all finished. Winston came to inspect them, make sure that they're just right. Now Debbie has tables. And she even has a bonus. She has a video to go with them.